Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Patience. If you are new to this channel and if you have not subscribed, kindly click the subscribe button right now. It is free. So today we are going to be making this beautiful high waist pencil skirt with a high-low ruffle hem. Let's get started. So I marked out this horizontal line, that is my waistline. So from my waistline, I'll be marking my waist to hip measurement, which is 9 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 9 inches. So the length of the skirt I'm working with is 22 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 22 inches. So the full length of this pattern paper I'm working with is 24 inches. So I'll be using the whole pattern paper. I'll be using this 2-inch for hemming allowance. So now I'll be taking my circumference measurement. My waist circumference is 36 inches divided by 4 is 9 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 9 inches and add 1 inch for that and 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. My hip circumference is 44 inches divided by 4 is 11 inches. So I'll mark 11 inches and 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. So my hip circumference divided by 4 is 11 inches. What I'll do is I'll minus 1.5 inches from 11 inches. That is 9.5 inches. So it depends on how tight you want your skirt to be. You can minus 2 inches if you like. So I'll go ahead and mark out 9.5 inches. Then I'll add 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll do the same thing on the hemline. So I'll go ahead and connect the points. Then I'll use a curved ruler to curve my hip. So the next thing is to create my darts. In order to do so, I need my bust span measurement, which is the distance from one nipple to another. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches. Then I'll add ½ inch, that's 4.5 inches. So I'll mark out 4.5 inches. The length of the dart I want is 6 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect the points. I'll be using 1 inch for my dart. So I'll go ahead and mark ½ inch on both sides and create my darts. So at this point, if you don't want a high waist skirt, you can go down by 1 inch or let's say 1.5 inches. That is for your band. But I'll leave it this way and I'll add 1.5 inch for my band. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So this is my front piece. I'll be drafting my back piece on another pattern paper. So for my zip allowance, I'll mark 1 inch. You can mark 2 inches for your zipper allowance, especially when you want a slit on your skirt. Since I'll be adding a ruffle on the lower part of the skirt, I'll just go ahead and mark 1 inch for my zip allowance. So I'll be taking the same measurement I took on the front piece, but I'll start my measurement from the zip allowance. So on the back piece, I'll be using 6.5 inches for my dart. So in case you're making a straight skirt and you want to add a slit, you can just go ahead and measure your slit. Depends on how deep you want it, maybe 7 or 8 inches. And I'll also mark where I want my zip to stop. That is 7 inches. So I'll label this as my waistline, my hip line, my hem line, sewing allowance, and this is my back piece. Then I'll cut it out. So I now have my front and my back piece. So to cut my band, I'll measure the waist including the sewing allowance. That is what I got is 23 inches minus 2 inch for that. So I'll go ahead and mark 21 inches for the length of my band. And I'll make the width 4 inches because I'll fold in 1 inch so I can get 1.5 inch for my band. So I'll be cutting this on fold to get my waist circumference. So this is what I'll be doing. I'll fold in 1/2 inch on both sides, then I'll fold it again to get 1.5 inches. So now I'm done with my pattern. So I'll be adding a ruffle on the hem of the skirt. So the length I need for the skirt is 22 inches. I'll just go ahead and fold the pattern this way so I can get my 22 inches. Then I'll go ahead and trace it on my fabric. So I've done that, and I also notched the hip line. And I've also marked my dart. And I'll be sewing it with 1/2 inch. So on the back piece, I've also notched the hip line. And I've also marked my darts on both sides. So what I'll be doing is I'll divide the back piece into 2. So I'll sew in my darts with a 1/2 inch. Then I'll make sure good sides are facing each other. I want my zip to be 7 inches, so I'll go ahead and mark 7 inches. Then I'll I'll sew the 1 inch I left for zipper allowance. I'll go ahead and pin it first. So on the front piece, I'm going to create a curve at the bottom hem, which I'll later trim out. At this point, you can decide how high you want it. So I'll go ahead and fold it, and on the folded edge, I'll mark 4 inches. Then I'll create the curve. So I've sewn the zipper allowance and also the dart, both on the back piece and the front piece. So I'll make sure good sides are facing each other. That's the front and the back piece. Then I'll mark the 1.5 inch I left for sewing allowance. Then I'll sew it. So I've done that. The next thing I'll do is I'll measure the lower part of the skirt because I'll be adding a ruffle. So I got 44 inches. Now to create my ruffle opening, I'll use 44 divided by 3.14. That is 14 inches. So I got 14 inches. And I'll go ahead and mark 14 inches for my ruffle opening. Then I'll also add 1/2 inch at the top for sewing allowance. And you can also decide how long you want your ruffle. So I'll be using 8 inches plus 2 inch for hemming allowance. So that's 10 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 10 inches. Then I'll cut it. So I've done that and it is not really full. So what I'll be doing is I'll splash and spread this so I can have a fuller flounce. So to do that, I'll make sections on the pattern. Then I'll splash and spread it out. So I'll do that in the brown pattern paper. What I did was I taped it down to keep it in place. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I made a half circle because I don't have enough fabric. If you have enough fabric, you can make a full circle. So this is 22. I'll just make 2 of this, then I'll cut it on my fabric and join it together. So I've done that. I joined it together to get a full circle, and I also hemmed the lower part with the 2-inch I left for sewing allowance. So this is it, sewn and pressed. This is how it came out. So the next thing I'll do, I'll ensure good sides are facing each other. So I'll join it with the top portion of the skirt. I'll first pin it down, then sew 1/2 inch. So I've made my band. This is how it came out. So to join it to the skirt, I'll make sure good sides are facing each other. Then I'll pin it down and sew it to the 1/2 inch I left for sewing allowance. So here is it, sewn and pressed. So the next thing is to attach my zip. So what I'll do is I'll place my zip on the band, the middle of the band, where I want the zip to start. I'll go ahead and pin it down. So I'll do the same thing on the other side of the zip. Then I'll go ahead and close it this way and pin it down. So this is how it will come out. Also, I'll go ahead and top stitch the other side of the belt, the band. I'll make sure that I put the seam allowance in before I top stitch it. So here is it, sewn and pressed. As you can see, it came out really nice and neat. So guys, if this tutorial was helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe and also turn on the notification bell to be notified when I upload a new video. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.